One of my favorite things about living in Chicago is its various neighborhoods. There's 77 of them in total, and each one has its own unique history, vibe, and various pros and cons. But if you're moving to Chicago for the first time, you may have no idea on what you should be looking out for when picking out a neighborhood. So in this video, we're gonna go over how to choose a Chicago neighborhood to live in, and I'll also include some suggestions on what neighborhoods I think you should check out. Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm a realtor here in the Chicago metro area. If you're looking to move here, or if you just want some more information about what it's like to live here, feel free to reach out to me. All of my contact information is down below. I'm sure that my team and I can assist you. Okay, let's talk about the first thing when it comes to selecting neighborhood, and that's going to be the cost of living. And this is arguably going to be the biggest difference in between neighborhoods. Naturally, like with every big city, there's going to be your high-end, very expensive neighborhoods, as well as your more affordable ones and everything in between. So first, it's important for you to establish a firm, narrow budget before you begin looking at neighborhoods, just so that you don't find something that you really like only to find out that it might not work with the numbers. The best way to do this is to look up the median sale and rental prices in each neighborhood and then see if that price is going to be able to get you what you're looking for. For example, if you're looking for at least a 2-bedroom condo and don't want to spend more than $300,000, then I wouldn't suggest looking at River North or West Loop. It would suggest neighborhoods like Hyde Park and Ravenswood instead. Finding the median sales and rental prices for each neighborhood is just a Google search away, and now Zillow lets you filter listings based on your monthly payment. So that's a great way for you to look within your budget. Now, outside of just the housing, be sure to also consider the costs of utilities and parking. Does your building cover things like heat and internet, or will these be things that you're going to be responsible for paying? Like with the median sales prices, you can also easily look up what the utility costs are in a given area. That way you make sure to include that into your budget so you know what to expect. Now, parking is another big cost to consider because the closer you live to the downtown, denser neighborhoods, the more parking is going to cost. So it'll be very helpful for you to research whether or not you can park on the street and just need an annual sticker, or if you're going to have to rent or purchase a parking spot to find consistent parking. Now, after you've put together your budget and find that it is a little bit on the higher side, then I'd highly recommend looking into neighborhoods like Lincoln Park, Bucktown, Gold Coast, and the West Loop. But if you're looking for neighborhoods that are a lot more affordable, then I'd highly suggest you look into Rogers Park, Albany Park, Portage Park, and Hyde Park. And yes, at this point, if you haven't already noticed, a lot of Chicago neighborhoods have the word park in them. Now, the next thing you're going to want to consider when choosing a neighborhood to live in is the proximity to your work, as well as public transportation. My recommendation would be to select a neighborhood that's going to put you close to your daily commute, whether that's to work, university, or wherever you need to be on a frequent basis. Now, keep in mind that on a map, the distance between your desired neighborhood and where you work might only be a couple miles, but in Chicago, especially if you're closer to the downtown areas, those couple miles can take a long time to travel. And this is especially true during the winter when we get snow, and those commute times only get longer. So I highly recommend prioritizing living somewhere that's going to put you close to your daily commutes. Now, if you plan on moving here without a car, which you can totally do, and a lot of people do it, you're going to want to make sure you're at least close to public transportation. Now, in Chicago, we like to use the L, which is an elevated train that can take you nearly anywhere in the city, although some pockets are a little bit harder to get to by public transportation than others. My suggestion would be to live at least within a 15-minute walk to any of these L stops. Too much longer than that may become an inconvenience, especially if you plan on using it on a daily basis, and as with parking, like I mentioned, in the winter when it's really cold outside. Now, there are also buses that you can take you to various parts of the city, and a lot of bike lanes, in case that's your desired mode of transportation. In general, whether you have a car or not, make sure to do some research on what the parking situation and public transportation situations are in your desired neighborhood before you end up moving here. Now, naturally, the neighborhoods that make up the downtown, such as the Loop, River North, and West Loop, will provide you with the most car-free living and put you close to all the other public transportation. But if you have a car and are okay with driving to most places, then I'd recommend looking into neighborhoods like Kenwood, Roscoe Village, and Westtown. Okay, so moving on to the next thing you should consider when picking a neighborhood to move to, and it's going to be the overall neighborhood vibe. Are you somebody that wants to be in the thick of it with all the hustle and bustle, or are you somebody that likes to keep it chill, more low-key, and have a more relaxed neighborhood feel? Do you want to be able to walk everywhere and have everything accessible to you within just a few blocks, or do you prefer using your car and being slightly more removed? Is a nightlife and restaurant scene important to you, or do you like to stay at home and not go out as much? These are all things to consider when picking a neighborhood to move to, because you're going to want the neighborhood to match your lifestyle as close as possible. Fortunately, with 77 different neighborhoods, there's definitely at least one that's going to match you well, so there's a neighborhood for absolutely everybody. Now, if you are looking for a very active, hustle and bustle neighborhood with great restaurant, dining, and nightlife options, then I highly recommend you look into looking to neighborhoods like River North and the south part of Old Town. Now, if you want the more relaxed neighborhood feel, but still want to be close to all the amenities, then I'd highly recommend looking into neighborhoods such as North Center, Andersonville, and Kenwood. Or maybe you're somebody that wants a more suburban feel, but you still want to be within the Chicago city limits, in which case I'd recommend neighborhoods such as Beverly, Forest Glen, and Jefferson Park. Overall, if you can, before you move here, I highly recommend you actually just take a few days to visit Chicago, walk the various neighborhoods that you're interested in, grab a coffee, grab a bite to eat, and get a general feel for the entire neighborhood and see if it's a match for you. My guess is that you'll be quite surprised by how different the neighborhoods feel, and once you finally move here, I really think you'll thank yourself for doing that. Okay, now the last thing that you should consider before choosing a Chicago neighborhood might not apply to everybody, but it definitely will with those who are moving with children, and that's going to be the school systems. Each neighborhood will have a variety of different schools that go under it, so you want to make sure you stay mindful about what options are available to you. For example, a neighborhood like Lincoln Park has about 5 different elementary schools that go under it. So if you want your child to go to a particular elementary school, you're going to want to make sure that you're living within those boundaries. Otherwise, even if you're just on the other side of the street, it may go under a completely different school system, even though it's technically Lincoln Park. Another thing to keep in mind is that Chicago has a lot of schools that are not geography dependent, things like private schools and magnet schools for you to also consider. Now, these schools do require children to test into them in order to gain attendance. So make sure you keep in mind and understand what the requirements are for the child to attend the schools that you're looking for. If they are public schools, make sure you pay attention to the specific neighborhoods that you're moving to. Or if they're magnet schools, be sure to understand the requirements that your child has to pass in order to be able to attend there. The school system here can be a little bit challenging to navigate, especially if you're coming from out of Chicago. So take the time to do all that research up front. So there it is. Those are the most important things that I believe you should be considering when choosing a Chicago neighborhood to move to. Let me know if I missed any. And of course, if you're looking to learn a little bit more about living in Chicago and its various neighborhoods, feel free to watch my other videos where I go a lot more in depth on other topics. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.